Let's do another gear review. Another one of the pieces of equipment I use when I do backcountry camping. Once again, most of my backcountry camping is canoe camping, so weight is not the most critical thing. So this is not like a Durston or anything like that, super ultra light trekking pole tent by any means. This is a two-person tent, pretty standard tent overall. This is a Mount Equipment Company tent. So going back to history behind this, when I started backcountry camping, I came from the car camping world. So I had very different equipment for car camping. I needed better, smaller stuff, a little lighter for backcountry. So since I was spending a lot of money all at once, I did go for the more economical route, which in this case was going with the Mount Equipment Company tent once again. This is the OHM2. Much like my backpack that I reviewed previously, this is no longer available on their site. They have upgraded and modified this thing, made it a little bit nicer. Has a much nicer poling system than this one does. But the poles work fine on this. I don't have any problems with it. This is like a kind of a long, narrow tent, two-person with door at the front that you would go out. Okay, so it's not a side door. It's like a front door at the narrow end. It has pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not too high. It's relatively compact height-wise, and it slopes down from the door. The door is the highest point. It slopes down a little lower in the back. So keep getting warm when you're in there, especially if you're in there by yourself, isn't really difficult. It's not like if you get a really big, high tent and you get in there, it's gonna take a long time for your body heat to kind of warm up inside there, if it ever does. So this one I find pretty good. I've been through some windstorms with it, some rain, things like that, and tent's been perfect. Now with the rain, I try to usually have a tarp set up above as a secondary protection. It also kind of helps to protect if there's any branches that fall out of the trees and stuff like that, so I'm not tearing this. But I have been rained on without that tarp too, and it's been perfectly fine. So it's quite good that way. The entire top of it is all screen, so it has excellent ventilation, and then it has the rain tarp that goes over top of that. So ventilation wise, seems to be very good. The reason I go with a two-person tent is I like to have all my gear in my tent with me. Obviously nothing that has any scent that's going to attract bears or mice or anything like that. Funny story I'll talk about in a second on that. All that kind of stuff I hang in my bear hang. So, but I keep my backpacking with me. I'm not big on the leave it underneath in the vestibule thing. I just don't trust that it's going to stay dry if we really get a downpour. I also don't trust that something's going to show up in the middle of the night and take my bag. And I am I sleep pretty sound, so it's very possible that I'll sleep through if something did come and start rummaging through my bag, or at least sleep through it enough that damage will be done by the time I do hear it. So I like it in there with me. So that's why I went with the two-person, for that very purpose.
So I realized when I got editing this, I never did go back and tell the story about the mouse in a tent. Last trip I was actually on last fall, one of my buddies didn't realize he had a couple of M&Ms in a Ziploc bag still in his tent. It was from when we day tripped earlier that day or whatever, or day before or something like that. He forgot those were in there, and well, sure enough, mice smelled it, chewed a hole through his tent, then chewed a hole through the Ziploc bag, ate the peanut M&Ms, and then bailed. So that's all it takes. They can smell from a long ways away, even through things like plastic bags and stuff. So do not leave anything scented in your tent.
It's comfortable. It's roomy. It actually, me and my wife have both slept in this tent together when we've gone, and then we use another tent that we put our gear in. So it does work for two people too. A little bit tight for two people, but it isn't bad. But that's common, right? You get a four-person tent. It's not really that comfortable. It's would just barely fit four people with nothing else. So that's kind of to be expected. It's relatively light. I did forget to look up the specs on this. I'll make sure I post it in the video for what the exact weight is of it. It's relatively quick to set up, but it's not like a super fast tent. Like on those Durston tents with the trekking pole tents, you can set those up in like 2 to 3 minutes. This obviously will take longer than that. you probably are 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes even, just pounding in the pegs. So there is a relatively decent amount of pegs. Not so much for the tent itself, but then you have the rain fly on top of that. That's the extra thing of pegs. This came with the pegs. They're not the greatest. They're like the little small round ones. I plan to actually upgrade them this year to some nicer ones. But they work fine. I haven't any problems with them or anything. Last trip I did, there was 2 in the front for the rain fly in the front for like kind of the doorway, and those kept pulling out of the ground. But the ground was pretty soft, so I don't know if even a better tent peg would do better or not. Now they have some smart things. The backpack, has a little handle, but the handle is actually made with a piece that is used to repair the tent peg or tent pole. So if you did break a tent pole, you'd be able to slide this over top of it to get through the rest of your trip. That was pretty good. Like I said, overall, it is easy to set up. Not difficult even from the first time to set up. And what's pretty neat is inside the bag, it packs up quite small, but it does actually have the instructions on how to set it up built right into the bag. So if it's your first time setting it up, or you haven't set it up in a couple of years, there's reminders right on it on how to do it, but it is straightforward anyways, even without the instructions. So yeah, and Mount Equipment Co. is pretty good at that. They're creative with little things like that to help you out. So I find it really well. So this is the OHM2. I'm very happy with it. They have the newer version of this is called, I can't remember the name exactly, but it actually is a side door. Good and bad with those. Obviously, if you're in there with 2 people, somebody has to climb over you to get out, but they're also much easier to get in and out of. So there's trade-offs with that. But like I said, the new system with the new way the poles work and everything is really, really nice. Where this is kind of a little more of a standard type of polling system. I do have pictures and I think some video even of this. I will try to search those and find them, and I will add them in this video so that people can kind of see what the tent really looks like. Once again, it's a tent I'm happy with. I will get you the specs and get those posted for you. If you're ever looking for a tent, I do recommend Mount Equipment Company tents, especially if you're not overly concerned about weight. Obviously, if you're through hiking and you need something ultralight, then you probably want to look more at the Durst and Moore and stuff. But this is a backcountry, specific for backcountry, this tent. And being that I canoe camp, the weight's a little less stringent. So, all right, OHM2, Mount Equipment Company tent. If you ever need a tent, find its current predecessor and enjoy.